What up, military family? It's the Tondero twins in the building. I'm Phil.
And I'm Alvin.
And welcome to Value in All Veterans. I want to thank you guys for checking us out here with episode 5. Obviously, we're doing it virtual now, bro. You know, last week we were in the building together.
Yeah, miss you already, man.
Yeah, man.
We had a good time in there. We definitely gotta do that again.
Absolutely, man. It was a good show. If you guys didn't check it out, talked about PTSD, depression, resources available for veterans and their families out there that need it, and then also the reasons why veterans need to acknowledge their feelings and be more in tap with how they're feeling and how efficient that can help them moving forward in life. You know, this episode today, we're going to be talking about expectations versus reality of a veteran once they get outside the gate. I mean, there's a lot of things that me and you can get into about this, bro. And, you know, we've seen a lot since we've been out. When did you get out?
Got out in November of 2016.
2016. Yeah, I was 2015. We've seen some things. You know, we're going to get into it a little bit today, as well as some advice for current and new veterans who are about to finish their enlistment. So we could just pop it off, bro. Like, what did you expect life would be like outside the gate before you got out, while you were still in? You know what I mean?
I kind of thought there'd be more. I felt like it would be more chaotic because I was so used to how much structure there was in the military. It's almost like you look forward to being able to move anywhere or do anything and have all those options. And then once they're all presented to you, or, you know, you have the freedom to do those, like it's almost like you shut down almost. You're like, wow, I could move anywhere. I could pursue any career I want. Like what the hell do I even want to do?
The
You know, as
freedom.
opposed to in the military, you know exactly what you're doing. And, you know, you don't really have to think really much outside of that. So just kind of being inundated with all those options and the freedom can be a little overwhelming. Wasn't really prepared for that. I think this will hit particularly people that have been in since, you know, they were 18 or whatever. I think it's going to hit them a lot harder. You know, me and you had a sense of what it might be like, but even when you're just in for 5 years or just 4, you're so conditioned to everything. The availability of everything can be a little bit overbearing. That was one aspect for me. What about you?
I would say the routine. You know, when you're a civilian, before you come in contact with the military experience, you have some form of a routine. But when you get into the military, it's literally a program. It's built on routine. And that definitely has its benefits and its strengths for you as a troop supporting the military, but it does take some things away from you once the routine aspect of everything is removed. You know, when you're out in the civilian, you got to make your own decisions now. You have to set your own schedule. And a lot of that whole routine that's infused in you can help you set up the way things need to be if you stay on top of it, like me and you do. You know, getting up early is just a normal thing now, and prioritizing how much time I'm going to allocate to certain things to get everything done that I have planned. Just planning in general is a little bit more of a priority coming out of the military as opposed to before. You know, some people might have been like that already, but I just know from personal experience, I'm more of a planner and more of a routine-oriented individual after I served in the military and I'm out here navigating now, you know. And, you know, there are some things that I do appreciate once I'm out, like, you know, the freedom, leave, and, you know, you still got to deal with leave in the workplace, you know, whether you're working in the private or public sector, wherever you go, as opposed to the military. But it was a little bit more stringent in the military, and the leave was actually pretty good. The policy and how much they give you, how much you allocate with time and all that. It's a good deal, but you really got to be on it all the time when you're in the military. Like there's like really no excuses as opposed to outside. It seems there's things are a lot more lenient out here. And that's one thing I do kind of miss about the military, especially is the routine. I really it's almost like a religion almost. Like I follow it. It gives me structure. Just like doing PT early in the morning. I'm at my best when I sweat and work out and get all that anxiety I have or stress or whatever. Getting that out of the way in the morning, builds me up the best to take on whatever I need to for the day. So having that, infused in a routine in the military is something I did miss and I had to hold on to. That's the thing for vets who are about to get out and current ones. Those things that really worked for you in the military, the way it was structured, try to keep those things in line while you're out. It doesn't mean you have to stop once you get out. Try to control that routine and what works for you as much as possible. That's probably the biggest thing I missed about the military when I was out and am still currently out as a vet.
I think with the routine, like they hammer routine home, in the military.
Hmm.
And then, but that doesn't always translate like to discipline, if that makes sense.
Woo, yeah, talk about it.
You have to be disciplined in your routine when you get out because no one's going to be on your back about it. People, I think, sometimes get those two confused. You just because you have a routine doesn't mean you're disciplined with it, and you learn that really quick when you're outside the gate. So I agree. Establishing a routine is very important. I just try to, like we talked about, mimic as much as I can as far as keeping the gym, as part of my baseline of things I want to make sure I'm doing on the daily, just like it was in the military. My studying, protecting your sleep if that's possible, just things like that. That's probably the biggest thing I try to protect in terms of being disciplined about, keeping my routine in line because once that structure is gone, it's real easy to like fall into some kind of flux because no one's holding you accountable to that. You have to hold yourself accountable for that. So
Where do you, for a vet who's currently out or a new one that's about to finish their enlistment and get out here, you spoke about discipline. That's a that's a lot to unpack right there when it comes to qualities and traits that can really take whatever you're trying to do in life to the next level. Do you have any advice when it comes to discipline and aligning that with a routine that you try to create? Like what worked for you to stay disciplined outside of just it being built into you? Are there any sort of strategies or tips you can give someone who struggles in the discipline sense, knows they need it, but you know needs to cultivate it a little bit better?
well, we grew up in a very like active family.
Mm.
We stress working out and staying physically fit always keeps me like mentally fit as well. So I knew taking care of my body was always like a priority for me because I know the body follows the mind, but it's kind of reverse, I guess, a little bit because, I know if my body is, in tuned with the routine and it's healthy and it's running perfectly, I know my mind will think a lot clearer.
Mm.
I can focus on my goals, writing down things that I want to accomplish, not settling for anything, just, always looking for the next opportunity, the next move. You kind of have to always make sure you're always chasing something. I'm not
Mm.
saying you don't chase anything in the military, but when you kind of have that whole horizon in front of you, and you can go in any direction, like once you choose something, try to exhaust everything and set yourself up the best way you can to like achieve that. And maybe that direction changes along the way, and
Mm.
that's going to happen too. But as long as you're writing down goals, staying motivated, keeping up with your body, and just working out, eating right. Eating right's really important as well. Just protect your temple, so to speak, and it'll take care of you. So, what about you?
I think some those are really good tips that you gave, bro. I think you made a lot of great points. And discipline is a serious thing. One thing we do hold ourselves accountable for and really hold as a pillar in our life is physical fitness. Because if you look good, you feel good. If you to look good and feel good, you need to work out straight up. And diet is another thing too. You shouldn't really go, we all have our moods where we want to eat and do all kinds of different things, but you have to realize how parallel your diet is with how you feel. So if you eat like a whole lot of junk food, you're not really going to you're going to feel okay, but you're not going to feel the best you can feel when it's time to get things done, when it's time to go and look for work or go to work and execute at a high level. So staying disciplined is seeing results. Just like I explained last time, what gets measured gets improved. So if you're trying to work towards something, a goal, like Alvin said, make sure you write it down, make it tangible. Once you have an idea and you put it down on paper, it's a little bit more tangible now. You can see it. It's on paper. You put it on a wall, you see it every day. Now you're starting to program yourself. Fit that into your routine that you want to align yourself with, that you just left in the military with that type of structure. Now you're going to start seeing you're creating an environment for how you can stay disciplined and hold your own self accountable to reach certain goals that you have for yourself. Have goals, just like Alvin said. Hit that horizon. You have the freedom to essentially do whatever you want. Don't just wander aimlessly. If you're interested in things, be intentional about finding out about those interests, diving a little deeper. Is this something I want to build a career on, or maybe do something more entrepreneurial with it? Like, you can do whatever you want, but you got to know what you want to do before you can go after it. And that's why writing things down and having things in more of a planned manner helps you align yourself with holding yourself accountable, because you can see what you want and then put that against your routine to kind of get a system going for you to get where you need to go. So discipline, man, that's a whole thing we can always unpack, bro. But I think you made some good points. I think I made some good points, and it works for us. Again, everything works different for different people. I know me and you, man, when I eat good and I work out, I operate at my highest level. And I know you feel the same way about that too.
Exactly. And if you're in, make sure you're thinking about these things, like you're kind of doing your soul searching, so to speak, before you get out, because you kind of want to hit the ground running when you get out. You don't want to all of a sudden get out and then now you want to think about those things, because I get things can get kind of monotonous while you're in the military. Everything's kind of predictable, and I mean that can be nice too, just the predictability of everything. You don't have to be prepared for things that might change, because it's everything's so routine there. But you're going to be getting out at some point. It's going to happen to everybody, so make sure you're starting to think about those things you might want to pursue, and write as many of them down as you can, and then just narrow down the list as you investigate some of them, and just kind of reach toward what speaks to you. And maybe that'll give you a little bit more direction when you get out. But there's no reason you shouldn't be thinking about those things while you're still in. So
I agree. And that's one thing that helps veterans, I feel, move a little bit easier out here, is how well you prepare yourself before you get out, which we always preach and have in other episodes. Shout out to all the episodes before this. Make sure y'all go check it out. Value in All Veterans on YouTube, and follow us on IG at value in all underscore vets. So the next dimension of this conversation I want to kind of go into is, when you get out, you got to adjust. And one of the big things is you got to find employment. And once you do, Then starts a whole nother adjustment period, battle, struggle, whatever you want to call it, which is trying to adjust to this new work environment that's not the military, which means it's very different. So, my question for you is, where did you excel, and if you did struggle in the workplace as a veteran, as a new veteran, what was that like for you? What did you notice was something you can navigate pretty well, and where you saw some challenges like, all right, I'm really going to have to be patient with this?
Socially, me and you have always been pretty comfortable socially in different groups. Doesn't matter, what kind of groups they are. We're just, I wouldn't say we talk too much. Maybe we do,
Mm,
but just getting to know people, getting people to open up or get comfortable with us has never really been a struggle. But I think I excelled at professionalism.
mm,
I've always spoken pretty well, very clearly, uh, overall, very loudly. So, my when it came to customer service and stuff, like I always excelled at that. Sir, ma'am. I address, supervisors that way. I address coworkers that way, and it will definitely make you stand out. I still do it to this day, not because I want, not because it makes me look better. It's just that's just literally who I am. I was like that before I even got in the military, but I
mm,
know a lot of people can take that trait with them when they get out. My personal recommendation is don't change that. Um, People are always going to be very welcoming of that kind of demeanor you have, as opposed to anything else. Uh, I've had customers that tell me they don't want to be called, sir or ma'am, and they were pretty stern about it. And I would keep doing it anyway because that's kind of just who I am. It's You're not really going to get in trouble for being professional like that. So that's definitely something I excelled in. As far as places where I struggled, I don't know. For me personally, it's not hard for me to meet people, but to kind of do things with them outside of the workplace and kind of build relationships more that way, I'm a little bit more guarded.
mm,
In the military, you're with these people a lot. It's everyone's in there. It's a lifestyle. You guys have a lot of common ground in that sense. You both swore in, and you both know what you've given up to be doing what you're doing. So it's a little bit easier to get comfortable with those people. But when you're a civilian, you don't really know like what their angle is. You don't really know where they came from. You don't really know, like, I don't know, just in terms of more group settings, I kind of always steered away from those things. And I'm not saying all vets do that. This is just my truth and what happened with me when I got out.
mhm,
I'm kind of picky with the groups that I want to congregate with, especially in the workplace. When I'm in work, I kind of just want to get in and out. I I'm always moving too, so I'm not one to keep, I don't put a lot of pictures up in my office. I don't decorate my office really well. I'm kind of it's kind of ingrained in me. I'm here to do a job, and when I don't have distractions in my office and stuff, or just things that make me feel like I'm going to be here for a long time, when you really set
mm.
up your office, it kind of keeps me in that mindset that I'm always, everything just always kind of seems temporary in a way. I don't know if the military did that to me. I think it had some part of that.
When you're at work, it's time to work.
It's time to work. Exactly. What about you,
Mhm.
man?
Well, you really hit a couple of points that really intersect with, things I noticed. I think one of the biggest things is that struggle with trying to, you know, relate to group settings of people who aren't vets. And one thing I did notice is that's one of the first questions I kind of ask when I'm meeting my team or whoever. Are there any vets in the building? Are there any vets in this room? Are there any vets in the organization? And vets always tend to gravitate to vets. And I always noticed I was able to communicate with them a little bit better, a little bit easier. And I always saw there was a little bit more, there was sense of humor that veterans, we tend to have more of a loose sense of humor. I actually seem to relax a little bit more when I'm dealing with vets because I'm very uptight, especially in a new environment. But when I meet a vet, feel this sense of like relaxation a little bit. I go, like, man, okay, somebody speak my language, or man, somebody understands. You know what I'm saying? And another thing is it's for vets. And if there's any civilians out here listening, it's not anything against you. It's just the environment that veterans, military folks come from. While we're in, you're surrounded and working with people who have put in equal skin in the game when it comes to putting it on the line, when it comes to committing to something, to the country, service. Anybody you look at in your environment, your surrounding on a base, is making that commitment, who's serving, obviously in uniform. So when you get out, you don't know who served, and if they haven't served, it's you were so used to that connection. So when you're out and you have to work with civilians, that sense of trust, like you were talking about, Alvin, it's weird. It's kind of a little bit harder to establish because with veterans, we've constantly worked with people who have put equal skin in the game and really put it on the line. And now that I'm out and I have to work and trust with civilians, quote unquote, it takes more time to develop that trust. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. And it's not like we're not saying this is the rule for everything. This is
Right.
just how we experienced it. And that's why we encourage people who had different experiences to definitely, share your comments.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to speak as a guest on our show and, talk about your own experiences, we're going to be opening that up really soon. We're really looking forward to hearing your experiences as well with this. But this is just kind of what we specifically experienced and the adjustments we had to get used to. So
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any other challenges while you were in the workplace? Like just off the rip, what are some things that just stuck out to you that you knew you were going to struggle with or really had to adjust to from a organization workplace standpoint?
I don't know if this applies, but more just like, I take pride in my work and what I do.
Okay. There you go. There's one.
There's a certain pride and respect obviously you get from serving, and it's looked at, very highly and honorably. And when you're just part of another organization, you don't I'm not saying I didn't feel prideful in what I was doing, but that level of just, you know,
Purpose.
respect or just purpose, the mission. I mean, every organization obviously has a mission, but when you're thinking about the mission that your military branch is trying to accomplish, it just seems so grand compared to anything some normal organization is doing. And I'm not downplaying them either. I'm just speaking as someone who came out of the armed forces. It just that main mission that you were working toward and seeing all these people putting in work toward and sacrificing their lives for it just doesn't add up, doesn't feel the same. So that's probably the thing that I felt like was kind of hard for me to adjust to. I knew like I'm just an IT professional at this company or this and this, and
Mm.
it's just not when you're an IT professional, say, just in the armed forces, it just feel like it carries a little bit more kind of, oomph, or whatever. Just
You feel a little more. You feel a little more pride.
yeah.
That makes
And
perfect.
I'm not, like I said, not taking anything away from what I did for other organizations or even the stuff they're doing. It's just kind of, just from my point of view, that's kind of what it felt like. What about you?
I would say I noticed like a real lack in leadership and organization. Like I noticed, like the military runs very efficiently. Of course, we have their issues here and there, but essentially it's very processed, very programmed, very systematic. When you get to the civilian sector, you see it, things are a little bit more erratic and people are a little bit more emotional when it comes to work, and they let it rattle them and affect their work, and I didn't really see a lot of that in the military. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen in the military. I'm just saying when I got out to the civilian sector, it just seemed like people just got rattled more easily when it came to getting things done. And I noticed if I was working with vets, we were always on the same pace. I never had to worry about them lagging behind. Like we were always leading the way or really trying to get everybody going. You know what I mean? The leaders, essentially. I that it was very evident to me. And then another thing that I struggled with was the like in the civilian sector, there's a lot of passive aggressive communication, in the workplace. And in the military, things are a lot more direct. And what I noticed was when I gave direct feedback or needed, direct guidance to something, people would take it as I was being aggressive. I wasn't talking loud. Obviously, like you said, stand up professional, always showing professionalism when I do things, even when I communicate. But also, you're a little more face to face when you're a military person. You want to deal with somebody. So when you kind of not necessarily pull up on them, but tell them, hey, can I come by and speak to you about some things? A lot of people don't like that in the workplace, and that really made me have to, oh man, okay, so they like the whole email distance communication thing. I have to find a way to adjust to this. I don't like it, but I have to find a way because I guess face to face, speaking a little bit more pronounced, a little more confident, comes off as aggressive. I think a lot of vets might struggle with that. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, I mean, a workplace sometimes is a workplace. Even in the military, you're going to deal with passive aggressive people, people that don't like to be direct. But I definitely agree with like kind of how erratic it can feel just with all the different personalities and lack of structures, so to speak. Sometimes in there, you just never know what you're going to get on any particular day. But you just try to stay as consistent as you can, as
Hmm.
professional as you can, and that goes really for anything that you do. That's what personally I think makes, you know and this goes to anyone who's planning to get out. A cool medium that I find pretty interesting is being a government contractor, because you get to stay with government civilians. Most of them are vets, and you're still involved with, the DoD in some capacity. So most of the time you're dealing with vets or actual, active military or reservists. So you get a cool dynamic in that you're still immersed among, you know, people that served, and it still feels the same. It's just you're not necessarily bound to the same, you know, rules as they are. It's still, you're still connected in that sense. But in terms of just the workplace, the people you work with, just the way everybody, communicates with one another and the structure, you still get all of that. So that's what I definitely enjoy about being still in the government sector, as a contractor, being exposed to all that. It's really cool. And you can talk to other active members and really reach out to them. A lot of them have questions about getting out and whatnot. And, you're already out, so they always want to know what it's like or what you do or what you'd be thinking
Hmm.
about. So I spend a lot of time talking to people about that.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good point and good advice for new vets who are about to come out, as well as current veterans who may be struggling trying to find a place in employment. Just like Alvin said, the government sector, a lot of civilians, a lot of prior service people, all meshed together working for different departments. So you probably would find a really good place to fit in there if you're looking for some sort of, you know, industry where you feel like you can fit in a little bit better. That was a really good point, man. And it, I think this is a real conversation we're having where just speaking about the adjustments that we have to make when it comes to how we provide for ourselves and our families is going to work, you know? And if you have to work in the workplace, doesn't mean you can't go entrepreneur, which is a whole nother topic we'll speak about some other time, is entrepreneurship, because we're big on that here too. And these adjustment periods and these work environments, and right now let's talk about a little bit of advice that we can give to current and new veterans when it comes to trying to adjust. Do you have any, words of encouragement that you can give to either of those sectors of folks who are either out or about to get out when adjusting to the workplace?
Just lean on people that did it before you. If they're vets,
Mm.
ask how try to soak up as much perspective as you can from other vets you may know that are out, or join groups of vets that are talking about these things like we are,
Mm-hmm.
and reach out to them and just see what their perspectives were like, and see if the things you're feeling are similar to the things that they were feeling when they were trying to adjust, because that could probably justify some of the things you may be feeling, and you won't feel as crazy because you're like, okay, actually this must be pretty normal, because a few other guys I talked to, and women were feeling the same way. So when once you feel that you have common ground with a lot of the vets that are going through the same struggles, it'll make you feel a little bit more comfortable, like, just this is part of the process, you just have to trust it. And you won't feel singled out like you're the only one that's like going through those things. So
Mm-hmm.
definitely lean on your support systems. And it never hurts to ask, if there are any vets. You can ask your supervisor or maybe your hiring manager before you even start. Just be like, hey, are there any vets in here? And most of them are very helpful about pointing you to that, because I kind of feel like they understand that too. And
They do.
we could probably reach out to some hiring managers, and do some interviews in that sense, and see if that's a dynamic that they take into effect when they're going through profiles, and going through the hiring process. If there is a vet, are they thinking beforehand, hey, do we have any vets that we can get to reach out to, this particular candidate? That's kind of a good thing to think about. And yeah.
I
What
feel
about
you.
you?
I
Mhm.
feel. I mean, but before we get to me, like, did you work with any contractors while you were in?
Yes.
I worked with some, they worked with us very closely, and hey man, shout out to Lang, shout out to Dan Doy, shout out to Robbie, shout out to Larry and Rick. They showed me a lot of things. Shout out to Sergeant Marsh, who, got out and became a contractor, and, worked with a lot of good guys, man. A lot of good guys, and really showed me the ropes. Special shout out to Kevin. Showed me everything about fire alarms, fire alarm testing. Yeah, that dude's a clown, man, but he taught me a lot, and about stuff going on the outside. So really appreciated those guys. They really kind of got my head together with what exactly I was about to get into, and being a veteran. And they really gave me a lot of sound advice that I really still appreciate to this day. So I definitely want to give them a shout out. And any other contractors that I did work with that I don't name off the top of my head right now doesn't mean I don't appreciate you. I really do. And for the, new veterans as well as the current ones, like the advice I would give is rely on your baseline qualities that you are as a military member. You're built to endure. You're built to adapt. Once you're in and settled in, nothing can stop you. But now adjusting is one thing that we have, but once we get it figured out, oh man, we going to the top. As long as we're acting accordingly like we should, there's nothing that can stop us from going to the top besides ourselves. So I would highly recommend that you just focus on those baseline qualities that make you a troop, showing up on time, the basics, Just like Alvin said, professionalism. Sir, ma'am, it probably would help you a little bit. Some people, they feel like they don't got to give people that kind of respect. I don't get it. Just like, saying hi, greetings, saying thank you. That stuff goes a long way now. You got people out here, they just say whatever, they get what they need. They don't say thank you. As veterans, these are very strong qualities that employers and companies, organizations highly value. Trust me, respect is huge out here. And trust. Being a military member, you deal with sensitive information all the time in the military. You know what are the ramifications of misinformation or information being breached, and you understand what it means to be, you know, secretive with information and protecting it at all times. Those are basic qualities. And then the last point that, I want to lay out for vets when it comes to advice is really just, I always say that veterans, we have the understanding that convenience is not a necessity. I noticed that when I got out that a lot of civilians, I'm not saying all, but a lot need a lot to do a little. And vets, we only need a little to do a lot. And that goes a long way. And it doesn't matter what your job was, but your baseline quality as a troop makes you very built to last out here once you get settled in. So have hope and understand that that's our greatest gift, is we have that understanding that convenience is not a necessity when getting things done. We're going to figure it out. We don't need a lot to figure things out, to get things going, and to get across the finish line. And employers, organizations highly value that, but you have to value that first. And when you value it, it's going to show in your actions, and they're going to see, yo, this woman, this man, this vet, they're an asset. We can't let them go. We got to take care of them. They're the ones that we need to be putting in leadership positions. They're the ones that we need to be, getting in front of other coworkers to show that this is the example. This is the direction we want to go. And it's already built in you. It's already built in you, vets out there, and the ones that are about to get out. Hold on to those qualities, those basic qualities we have. That's my biggest advice to y'all. And, shout out to all the vets out here. Shout out to everyone that's about to get out and finish their enlistments. This was a great conversation, bro. Just talking about adjusting and the reality versus, expectations we might have had before we got out and what's really going on out here. There's a lot of stuff you got to adjust to. Just like Alvin spoke, the social aspect is probably the hardest. And once you get around that, though, you're going to be okay. And that's why it's important to hold on to communities like ours here and other vet organizations and groups. Just, chop it up with them and let them know how you're feeling, and that'll really help you moving forward, man. You have any closing words, bro?
Just take care of each other, support each other if you're feeling lost or just need some direction, or just, someone to help you, someone to just listen to the things you're going through, like any of it. Just, lean on those support systems, like I always say.
Mm.
And you matter. You have the skills. You have everything you need right in front of you to take advantage of those, you know, opportunities that are going to come to you. So just try to stay disciplined and, take those steps, write things down, stay motivated, stay looking for things to get accomplished, just stay active, physically and mentally. And you'll find yourself not really settling for much. And you can do it. Like you said, it's built in you. This is who we are. This is what we trained for. And it's like the world is literally yours when you get out. So take full advantage of it. You have plenty of resources and support. Just trust yourself, and everything's gonna work itself out as long as
That's right.
you believe in yourself and you use the support around you. You guys can do anything.
That's right, man. Y'all got it. Get hype. Have that energy, enthusiasm. You guys can make it happen out here. All you women, all you men, all us vets as fam, we can make it happen. Again, Subscribe and like to the channel on YouTube, Value in All Veterans. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at valueandall_vets. As always, it's Value in All Veterans, and our goal is to help alleviate any anxiety or fear military members may have about life outside the gate as a veteran. Special shout out to our vets out here. Rest in power to our fallen, and special shout out to the deployed troops that are out there right now. Y'all stay safe, stay blessed. Again, Tondero Twins in the building. I'm Phil. Take it easy, y'all. We'll see y'all next week, all right? Peace.
Crazy.